Good afternoon and welcome to the Inspire with Shika My'Chelle Show. I am your host, Shika My'Chelle, founder and CEO of 501c3 nonprofit organization, Beautifully Unique Incorporated, and owner and CEO of inspirational brand Inspired by Shika My'Chelle. Now on today's show, I am super duper excited because this guest has run from this show since it started. He did allow me to bring him on one time, but I'd like to welcome, though he won't admit it, Mr. Monday Motivation himself, college student, influencer, motivational speaker, mental health advocate, and my son, Nasir Latif.
That's a lot of hats.
That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot to live up to?
Yeah.
You are all those things. Walk in that.
Hello, people. Do a little bit of ASMR. How you doing?
I am super duper happy to have him here. As his mom, I told him this. We actually went live before the show, and we decided that we were going to do something very different today. Oh God, why are you beating yourself? You okay?
No.
Okay. I was like, wait a minute. Don't abuse yourself on the show. Not on today's show. We got the engineer over here losing it a little bit, but we're gonna bring him back. It was important for me. I asked him to come on. He has such a presence and such a testimony. And though he has been running from this show, it was a blessing to me that he agreed to come on this platform to share his truth. One thing we did discuss, if you watched us live about an hour or so ago, we discussed that on today's show, I am not his mother. Today's show, I am simply the host of the show. I want him to be as transparent and as honest about his life, his story, his truth as possible. There will be no repercussions for your truth. I think we've grown together. We've learned a lot. He's 20 now. I got married at 18, had him at 19. So we've pretty much grown up together. But I thank you for all that you are. So I'm going to go take them back before I bring them to today. Take them back. Nasir, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, where you're from, just a little bit about you?
I was from Good Samaritan Hospital, West Islip, New York, 8:22 a.m.
Amen. How you doing?
I know time.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you weren't there?
I was there.
Oh, okay. Raised in Wyandanch, New York.
All right, we're live. You just talk. You were raised in Wyandanch. You attended Wyandanch School District in the very beginning.
Oh yeah, I was in Wyandanch district. I don't know how to.
School district.
School district. Thank you. I couldn't think of the word. From pre-K up until third grade. Third grade was my last year, and then from fourth grade until I graduated, I was in Half Hollow, that was fun. That was an experience.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Having had been. This was the most difficult. Let me say this. This was the most difficult interview to try to prepare for, because I know the person next to me inside and out. Like, I know his story, his struggles. So in trying to formulate questions that would bring certain things out was a little difficult. There was a little pressure there. But having had started in Wyandanch, where you went from being the big man on campus, everyone took you under their wing. It was absolutely a family. He started off, helping the custodians, helping Erica.
Hey.
He started off, helping the custodians and things of that nature. And anybody, they just wrapped him up and, took him on with him, because I was working in the school district at that time. So what was it like for you coming from, Wyandanch, where you were the big man on campus, to now going to Half Hollow Hills, where you didn't know anyone and you had to start all over?
I went from being like everyone knowing me, everybody loving me, to going to Half Hollow and nobody knowing me. I think on the first day of school, I ended up crying. And I think that completely, when I went to Half Hollow, rather, on that first day of school, I ended up crying. And that completely, I feel like, set the tone for the rest of my time there. Because I think people built up a perception of who I was based off of that one day there.
And how did that directly affect you mentally, having to adjust in that room?
I don't think at that age I thought there was going to be much adjusting or anything excessive that I would have to go through. Obviously, I don't know how old I was. I don't know how old you are at, what, 4th grade? I don't know how old that is, but life's easy back then. You're not worried about, well, once again, you're not worried about life. And then life hits you the older that you get. So, yeah.
That was a little difficult. Now you are someone, people don't know, let's bring it back. Let's discuss a little bit about your childhood, because what people don't know is that you're 20 now, but in your 20 years, in the course of the last 5 years, aside from the other things that have happened leading up to the last 5 years that you've experienced and walked through, over the course of the last 5 years, you've lost he was your great grandfather, my grandfather. You lost grandpa, who you were extremely close with. 2 months after that, dad died. And then in 2018, we lost my mom, who he was incredibly close with. So even in that, you made the decision quite a while ago with sobriety. You made that decision that you took a stance against the drinking and drugs. And what made you feel like that was something that you wanted to do or you needed to do?
Well, I guess growing up, my dad was an alcoholic, and I grew up around my uncles who maybe didn't make the best choices, and then other family members, but I also think that's a part of how you're raised in the environment that you grow up, nature and nurture, so, but yeah, growing up around, as my dad being an alcoholic and seeing the repercussions of everything that he was doing kind of made me see things and say, it's not healthy. That's not what I want, especially one day when I have kids. I don't want them to have to go through the same things I did and feel the same way that I did.
I have to, I asked him before the show if he wanted to see the questions that I was going to ask him. And I asked him if there was anything that was off limits, anything he didn't want to talk about, because one thing about me, and I think all of my guests that have been here before can let you know, I'm not here to pry. I'm not here to put anybody on Front Street. I'm not here to, expose anybody or anything of that nature. It's about inspiring someone else and allowing the testimonies of those that have been through to kind of shine through. So for me, he said, anything goes, all bets are off. You did have a fear, though. And would you like to share that? You don't want to share that? You had a specific fear. You were afraid that if you spoke your complete truth, you didn't want.
You got it.
No, you've got it.
Because I don't know.
When you said you didn't want people to think that you had a bad mom, or.
Oh yeah, of course. Because you're an incredible mother, and you raised me right. Obviously, my father raised me right too. But all 20 years you've been here, and I've had great support system throughout my life. So I don't want people to think that anyone in my life wasn't a influential part of it, whether negative or positive. But my mother has always been a positive part of my life.
Thank you.
Don't start crying.
I'm attempting not to start crying. What you guys know, this is not scripted. I have a bunch of ideas and things, topics that I wanted to touch on, but I also want him to be able to speak. And if you know this young man, he's kind of like Henry, my grandfather, where when he speaks, you listen. There's always something. He's full of wisdom. He's far wiser beyond his years. Like he got it from. I'll say grandpa. Just living in the household with grandpa, he's so wise beyond his years. So for me to have him here, this is my counselor. This is who I go to. This is who I kind of vent to, and he gives me such insight, things that I don't even think about on my own. you know, as an adult. So it's an amazing thing to have a 20-year-old who, when I tell people I want to be like my son when I grow up, they're like, yeah, right. And I'm like, no, really, he's not perfect. But he's one of the most amazing individuals that I've ever met in my life. And I'm not going to say that because I'm his mom. Just when you meet him, to know him is to love him. He is the dad of his friend group.
Yes, I am. And sometimes I wish I could just take off my belt, but it's fine. I digress.
That's right. He is the dad of his friend group. Now, I want to double back because we just talked about grief. And I want to get the grieving part out of the way. And it's okay if you tear up a little bit. You know, it's a manly cry. But I want to discuss grief because there's so many people out there that are going through the storm, that have lost loved ones, family members, and they don't know how to cope. Well, they may not have that shoulder, that strong person that they can lean on. So you are a living, breathing testimony. I say this all the time, but you know, you lost so much, but I want to know, how has the loss that you've experienced kind of shaped you into the man you are today? I know there were levels to that grief.
Well, clearly with Grandpa and my dad dying, I had to grow up quickly. I know I didn't really obviously, you said I'm not the type of person that shares my feelings or anything. But
use your platform to tell your truth.
Oh no, I'm not. Well, I was gonna say I don't clearly cry, so that's something I gained over the years. But and like I said, I had to grow up very quickly, and I always felt I had to be strong because my mother just lost, you know, people that are close to her. My grandmother just lost people close to her. We all just lost people, and I felt as the man of the house now, I have to, like, be that pillar of strength, so to speak. Yeah. But
I think in that, what's funny is I think we were both feeling the same way. Like, you felt like you had to be the strength. Like, okay, I can't let them see me cry. I can't, you know, I have to be that. And I felt like I was very much having to be that for you and Nana as well. But in having that, and how did that? Thank you for watching, guys. I'm sorry, we're actually live as well as being live. So this is something new that we're doing. But how did that shape the rest of your life? If you want to break that up in segments, as far as like with Grandpa and Dad, or if you just want to talk about them in a whole, or Nana being the most recent, that was the major blow. So if you want to separate that, we can.
Well, it's like you said, we didn't plan this out or anything.
No, we didn't. So, we just gonna talk like we always talk. Only the camera's here.
I'm the type of person I gotta write stuff down before I can talk about it.
No, but, you got it.
Well, obviously, I was 14 when my father and Grandpa died. So it was that freshman year of high school, and I was still battling depression, the ugly D word.
The ugly D word.
But I was battling depression at that point, so it was very much on top of everything else in my head that was going on. It was trying to daily work through the pain that I felt with them not being there, not having those confidants, with the exception of my mother and my grandmother. Yeah, the male confidants. And trying to take on responsibilities as well that maybe someone may shouldn't have to, or
normally wouldn't have
to. And I mean, with Nana, it was like, I was 18.
That was right after she yeah, that was 2018.
18, 19, yeah. Oh, I was some year old.
You were almost 19. Yep.
Yeah, and that was different. I mean, at that point, I had just started dealing with the positive vibes at that point. So I was in the middle of all that, and then that happened, and it was like a huge setback mentally, 100%, because I don't know, that was something we didn't expect to happen at all.
No.
And now you're just getting over those deaths, and now you have someone else super significant to you. So it was definitely a lot to face, but came on the good side of it, I guess. We always bounce back.
We do. You have been. I watched you, and I'm gonna take it back. I'm gonna take people behind the scenes, since we're being honest and we're telling truth. I remember what we explained. We're not going to do the crying today. Well, we can do the crying. It is what it is. This is live. This is real. We're going to be honest about things because this is who we are and this is how we really communicate with each other in real life. The cameras are just here, but if you know us, you know that this is really how we communicate every day. Lucky's watching. This is how we communicate every day, but
a little bit more laughing.
Yeah, and it's a little more dancing, and it's a little different. We're being confined right now to how the truth really is. Catch us behind the scenes, and you may see something different. But I remember that day like it was yesterday, and I won't get into all the details of, but we both have to live with the visual of a lot of things. I think what people don't understand is it went deeper than just her dying. Mm-hmm. It was the visuals that we had to see leading up to, ambulance and all of that. But what I will say is it made me extremely proud to be your mom, to watch how you handled everything leading up to, from the behind the scenes to the ambulance to, us having to wait in that room and wait for the doctors to tell us, I think, what we knew in our hearts, what was coming. And I remember I went outside at this very time. I went outside just to get some air, and everyone was still waiting in the room, and somebody came out to get me. I don't remember who it was. Love you too, Luck. Somebody had came out and they told me that the doctors wanted to see me. And, I'm walking down the hall, and I remember there were like 2 doctors waiting at the door. And I remember when I came up, I was like, oh, this looks like a bad episode of Grey's Anatomy. And the doctors, I think, thought that I had lost my mind because I knew what it was that they were going to say to me. But I chose to still to trust God, even in that, even in my hurt and in my pain. I chose not to get angry or anything. I chose to still trust God because I knew that whatever he had decided to do, there was nothing that I could have done to change that outcome. But I remember when the words came out of their mouths, and I remember you balling up your fist and you let out this one gut-wrenching, and the tears came. And I remember telling everyone, let him go. And he walked down the hall, and immediately, as quickly as those tears came, it was like this. And he turned back around and he said, Mom, what do you need me to do? It was as if the tears, didn't even exist anymore. He said, what do you need me to do? Who do you need me to call? And he pulled out his phone and he started making phone calls to his aunts, to my aunts, his great aunts, but, his aunts. And people don't understand at 20 years old now, he's 20, what he has had to walk through. So when you see him and you see that there is a light surrounding him, I always say that those angels of protection. You have been such a blessing to everyone that you come in contact with. And it is an honor for me to have you on my show because I don't, I tell you positive things all the time, but you're so humble. You're like your mom in that sense, where we hate to hear it. We appreciate it, but we don't do well with compliments. Mm-hmm. So it makes us feel a little uncomfortable. Yeah. But it was important for me for people to understand that at 20 years old, you single-handedly lost everyone in your immediate family with the exception of your mom. And that's heavy. Love you, NAAS. Elijah. You too. That's heavy. So for me to see this young man growing, knowing what he's experienced, knowing what he's lost, knowing what he battles on a day-to-day basis, but to see him choose to operate in positivity, choose to inspire and encourage others. You know, that's inspire. That's something that is really something that doesn't happen every day anymore. People are so, and I think we discussed this. Actually, you just talked about this yesterday on. Yeah, you did. You just had that discussion. Do you remember it?
I'm talking about people are so fixated on themselves and what they can take from others, and they are not. People are just selfish nowadays. Absolutely. People are very selfish, but I think that also goes back to the nature nurture type thing and how you're being raised. These kids are being brought up materialistic, and I wasn't brought up materialistic. Though I could have been.
You could have been.
I could have been, but
you were not. But you could have been.
Yeah. It's not my style. You know? But I don't know. People are very materialistic and selfish nowadays, and I think that's hopefully something that changes in the coming generations, and hopefully that starts with my generation and the generation under me, and then so on and so forth.
You know, because you mentioned your generation, that was something I was actually going to touch on, because you mentioned your generation, and your generation gets such a bad rap.
Yeah.
You know, people talk about these millennials, you know, and how you're the lost generation.
Which we didn't know it was my generation anyway.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not a millennial. But for me, I think I've always told you that you are the voice of your generation. I labeled him that very early on because he's always been that. You've always been an advocate for the underdog. You've always stepped up for bullies. You've always been, even in your family, even with your little cousins and things of that nature, you've always been an inspiration, somebody that they can look up to. You've been very careful about the things that you do because you already understand that other people are watching, and the decisions that you make directly affect them as well. And that's something that I think is missing, not just in your generation, but with us in a whole as a people. I can't even listen. So sad. Lucky, we love you too. Oh goodness. You've got to listen. This is truth, and I think it's important you know, to share the platform that we have. That's right. You get
quiet.
He's
the unquiet side.
He's usually quiet until he's the life of the party when you get to know him. But he's usually quiet, so it's really a blessing, like I said, to have him here and be so open about, you know, feelings. You grew up where family has always been important. I'm gonna go somewhere with this. I'm
following
you. And you know, in the last year, it's been a little difficult. It's been a little rough. And having had lost Nana, it was as if when she died, everything, with the exception of a sprinkle of a few, kind of died with her. You know, we kind of labeled ourselves the Lone Rangers, which I think has forced us to grow individually and together. But what has that been like for you, coming from such a close-knit family, kind of big family, you know, close-knit,
both sides,
and not having, not really having that family dynamic anymore? You tell your truth. I mean, how has that been for you?
Well, it definitely hurts to go from, like you said, having, well, we had all these family functions growing up, and Easter, Thanksgivings, and all of that, to, you know, now where it's very much divided, I feel like. And that's both sides, I would say. Both sides of my family, definitely, but especially on our side of the family is definitely very divided. And I do feel like we are the, you know, I say the outcasts, you say Lone Rangers.
Yeah.
Because whether that is because of us or because of them, but nonetheless, it's definitely sucks to not have that same
family dynamic.
Yeah. Okay. But I know when I have kids, I've always told you this, when I have kids, hopefully when I have kids one day, I want to get back to that family dynamic and all of the functions and the celebrations that a family should have.
Not just meeting up, funerals and that nature. It's hard having had lost all that has been lost. And I think that selfishly, people feel like you should be reaching out to them in the midst of your grief and your storm.
The phone works both ways.
It really does. And, I can honestly say that things that we've had to experience over the course of the last year are not things that, had roles been reversed, that my mom would ever operate under. I can say that, things that we've had to walk through, things we've had to experience, are things that my cousins would never have to experience because my mother would never allow it. But I not pointing the finger, it is what it is. We have grown. We've grown, we've learned a lot. And the reality is, I think we've started to appreciate life a whole lot more, which is why I'm going to take us to, I'm going to segue to positive. We're going to go there to the positive, because something in you, Mr. I don't like cameras, Mr. I don't like cameras. Erica said, BJ said, hey, Nas.
Hey.
You started this Monday motivation movement.
I mean, I didn't start it.
Well, you started your own.
Yeah, but
He's so humble. You started your Monday motivation movement, and I think you now say Monday motivation with Nas. Is that what was on your new video?
It's either motivation with Nas, Monday motivation, so whatever you want to call it.
You just get motivated.
Yeah, just get motivated. Spread the peace, love, and positivity.
That's right. What made you start to post those videos?
I don't know. I think I know I follow this one person on Instagram. Gary V. He's a motivational speaker, and I saw he's not the reason, but he's one person I follow that posts about doing things pretty much out of your comfort zone, and just he's real. He's very real, and I respect that. But he does talk about the positivity or the inspirational stuff. But I've always been a inspirational type person.
Yes, you are.
My friends can what is the word?
You are
attest to that. Or is that the word? Yeah.
You're right.
But I wanted to do the same thing. I do it. Instagram isn't where I started doing it. I've been doing it on Snapchat for like years. Because Snapchat's like my main app. And I've always been that kind of person that wants to spread the peace, love, and positivity with everyone. So I just thought, well, why not just spread it on another platform and actually do something instead of just keeping it to myself. And the world is so negative nowadays. You need to spread the love. Love and positivity. Yeah.
And it's funny, I said this. I said, one thing I admire about you is most probably would have already used a platform that was already established. Most would have probably ridden the coattails and said, okay, well, my mom is in the public eye. My mom is doing these things, so I'm just going to ride her coattails. And you opted not to. You stayed away from all things under my brand, and you branched off and said, no, this is something that I want to do for myself on my own. This is your lane. And that's something that I admire about you. What you guys don't know is I see his motivation, his Monday motivation at the same time as you guys do. I never get a preview. He doesn't ask me for advice or what do you think about this? I never get a preview. I see it at the same time as you guys. So I'm just as excited about what it is that he posts as you guys are.
And can I say,
yes,
all those quotes are 100% mine. So every single quote that you see is from my mind and my heart. So,
and that's what makes it even more amazing, is the fact that you're such a creative mind, but you've always been that. And now you're kind of, I feel like, stepping into your purpose. You're starting to use what you've been given to pour into others. And I told you this before. I said, your generation might not be paying attention as much, but you have complete adults that are inspired by the things that you say. I share his videos. I attempt to share them on Mondays, but his his motivation, his Monday motivation usually turns into like a Tuesday, transformation Tuesday or something for me, because Mondays are really hectic. But people are waiting when I share. They're so excited about what it is that you have to say. So it is important that you continue on that path, your path. And 120%, 150, 1,000%, mommy's going to support you in anything that you do. I try to keep my hands off of it, and mind my business and let him go forth in the manner that, he chooses, because this is his vision and his baby. So if you do not subscribe, you can find him as...
Is it at NAAS KALEEM on Instagram?
Yes. Yeah. NAAS.
2 A's. I'm not the rapper.
Two A's. NAAS KALEEM on Instagram. And you can find his Monday motivation directly from him. If not, I'm always sharing his videos. But I want to take a quick moment to thank our amazing sponsor, Mr. Jermaine Matthews, Allstate Insurance Company agency owner. Please contact Mr. Matthews for all of your insurance needs at area code 516-941-1641. Again, that is 516-941-1641. Oh, and tell him that Shika sent you. He has been an absolute blessing to this show. We thank you for sponsoring the show and believing in the vision of this show. People don't always extend that hand, and I thank you from the very beginning for being someone that has supported the movement of the I Am Shika My'Chelle brand. I want to ask you, honestly, with the mother that has been a public figure, a community activist, somebody committed to community and the youth, what has that been like for you? Honestly, I will not be offended. Honestly.
Well, in the beginning, it was like, oh, okay, my mother's doing something different, something that it's like I hadn't seen. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously I've always supported you, and I always will support you. That doesn't matter. But growing up, when it started, it was definitely that, oh, okay, well, this is happening. And then you see all the stuff start to pile in, taking over the living room, and you're like, great, where am I going to play now? Where am I going to play my sports?
Taking over the entire house, changing our entire lives. And I think Beautifully Unique Incorporated was the beginning. Was Diamond Elite. Diamond Elite was the
What y'all know about that Diamond Elite?
Throwing up the diamond. We didn't... I didn't forget about that, but I've stepped so far away from music that, I did forget about that.
Look out for it. She's playing, but she got to get back in that studio.
What he just said, what was the hardest part of growing up under that?
Like, almost feeling like you weren't there sometimes. You were obviously there, but you sometimes caught up in your work. And sometimes you weren't, like, when I needed you and when I wanted to, like, just tell you about my day, sometimes it'd be like, I'm working, you always give me your full attention. But sometimes it was that right now I need to focus on work. Mommy needs to focus on work. Yeah. And I did understand that at heart. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then I'd come back later, or you'd come in my room and be like, all right, so what happened? Yeah. So it would always come back. You would always make time. So it was never that situation, but that was a pretty difficult part, I would say.
I agree. I think that a part of me is still like that. I'm really trying to get better. It's funny because I'm hearing this from him, and I think that some things on TV is watching. I think some things you don't really recognize that you're doing because you're so caught up in just wanting to minister to the people and be a blessing to other people that home sometimes, gets the crappy end of the stick, and you didn't really realize that. And hearing that from you, even in being in a relationship now, I'm trying to learn balance, which is something that I never really thought about before. I never really had that before. But in him speaking out, like, so at some point you're going to make time for us. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think that I was avoiding it. Yeah. So, you know, in hearing that from NAAS, it does make me realize that I think I might be getting better at it, you know, because now it's in my face, like, okay, you really need to relax. But I understand that had to be difficult, especially in the things that you had lost, the people that you had lost, and then with Nana then not being there as well, who was your best friend, your ride or die, with her not being there, and then it just being the two of us, with me being focused and pulled in so many different directions, it had to have been hard. But I thank you for always being a support system. Oh, please. But I'm gonna ask you, I asked you what was the hardest. What would you say was the most rewarding thing that you've gotten out of, we'll just say Beautifully Unique, because that's what's directly connected to the pulse of the community and the youth?
I'd say the added work ethic is definitely one thing. You showed me the dedication that needs to go into something that you love and something that you want to do, especially with what I'm doing now. If it becomes a bigger thing, which I'm not doing, you know, I should say I'm not doing it, you know, to get famous or anything. I'm doing it just because I want to spread that peace, love, and positivity. And I want, it's as corny and cliche as it sounds, I want the world to be a better place and to be at peace, because this world right now is just not in a good place. It's nuts everywhere.
Absolutely. So, I have to say that you've been someone, even when we do our Christmas, you know, we've given away the toys and coat drives and all those things, you know, where we are directly connected to the community. I absolutely love the fact that he has been there to see it all, and he, from start to finish, he is all in, full in, and hands on. He carries bags and boxes to cars. You know? He kisses babies and shake hands, and you know. But I think that has helped mold you in such a way. Like, I've watched you evolve and get involved. So it's a blessing to see that you've decided, though you have run away from what it is that I do, you have decided to pretty much do this. So is it just me in competition now? Oh,
don't tell.
He's out to steal my followers.
Don't tell her.
That's okay. Same household. You know, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. Not really. Not really.
We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later. Quickly, I want to this Saturday, August 3rd, from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., our pastoral care at Destiny House Christian Center will be hosting a clothing drive. If you know anyone that is in need of gently used clothing, some new clothing still with tags on it, children, women, men, please meet us at Destiny House Christian Center, 70 North Main Street, Freeport, New York. We're on the second floor. Please meet us. Again, that is this Saturday, August 3rd, from 12 to 4. We'll be at Destiny House Christian Center, 70 North Main Street, Freeport, New York. Grab a friend. Please tell someone. School is getting ready to start back up, and money is tight for a lot of us. We have a lot of clothing, a lot of things for all. So please meet us there. I will be there. Meet us there, and let us be a blessing to you, and you be a blessing to someone else by tagging in and letting them know that this is what's happening. You know, this is an awesome event. It is our third initiative. I believe our third community initiative that we've had doing this, and we also have done barrels going to Africa as well. So please, if you know someone that is in need, meet us at Destiny House Christian Center this Saturday from 12 to 4. We're located on the second floor of the upper room, and you can find us there. So yeah. Had to throw that out there quickly. And if you did not catch our live, we did a live earlier. You can now find us. It was placed on my heart this morning, and I was like, "Nah, you got to do it with me." It was placed on my heart this morning to get more engaged with you guys. I realize that I'm really only engaged with you guys on Tuesday, and then the rest of my life gets crazy all over again. But it's important for me to stay in constant contact with you, to continuously be a blessing, to continuously inspire you guys. So you can find me, if you do not follow me on Facebook and Instagram, you can find me on I Am Shika My'Chelle on both, as well as you can follow this show, the Inspire with Shika My'Chelle Show, on both Facebook and Instagram. And I will be going live more during the week. Whenever the mood hits, whenever God gives me a word for you, I will be going live and communicating directly with you. If you have not followed the Inspire with Shika My'Chelle page on Facebook, please do so now. If you're following, do so now, and leave a message. Let us know what topics you'd like to hear discussed. If you have a question for him, if you have a if you have a mommy and son question, something to do with parenting, parenting advice, or whatever the case is. We're open to having discussions with you guys. So please, we're going to be more interactive. I'm going to try to pull him out ever so often to go live.
Especially mental health stuff.
Yes, mental health. What is our time? Sorry. What is our time?
15 minutes.
15 minutes, awesome. Because that's something that I want to, before we go, I want to touch on that, because you are amazing. You are a mental health advocate. You are somebody that that feels very strongly about mental health and the importance of, positive. But I'm going to say this as someone that has been on the dark side of things, with the big D looming. How did you, and you can opt to share your story. This is you have 15 minutes to share your truth, because people may not know what you've walked through, and it may shock them to know that Mr. Positivity also has walked through some serious things. So
and
if you'd
still
like to
does.
share, and still does.
Everybody does. Oh, yeah, don't you?
You can. I'm gonna ask you after. So if you want to just talk about your backstory, like what you've experienced, things that you've battled personally.
I mean, like I said earlier, it's really the dark word started in 4th grade when I started going to Half Hollow. And it's funny that the reasoning for that is like a consistent, or one of the main reasons for that is a consistent thing to this day. And obviously you know what that is. You guys know girls. Girls are a consistent part. I'm a very emotional person. I'm a Cancer. So, cancers are very emotional. So that right there is something. But as I got older, obviously the problems got real. And as family life stuff going on in the household, school is a very, very big part. And I think everyone that's been to school, everyone that's in college, high school, middle school, all of that can attest to that as well.
The pressure.
Yeah, the pressure is intense. And especially with us, you got more lenient as I got older. Yeah. I remember once I brought home a C, and when I went to Wyandanch, I brought home a C, and I'm like, you yelled at me, I'm like, I thought C's were good. She's like, no, we want A's and B's. I'm like, I thought you guys just didn't like D's. No, we definitely don't like D's. All right, I'm sorry. But as I got older, she got more lenient and got less on top of me, and with grades and school, and as a result, I did better.
I'm going to say this for the parents that are watching. This is the God honest truth. It is important to have a real relationship with your children, and to not be so stuck in, I am the parent and I said so. It's important for us to check in with our kids, really check in with our kids and have conversations. And I think the first time that he told me something that I said or did hurt him, I made it my point then to tell him that if I ever do anything, because just because we're the parent and just because we're an adult does not mean that we are always right. And we have to understand that in communicating with them, we want to be told, you want to be talked to the same way that I do. You want to be respected. Our household, we didn't grow up as friends. We grew up, I'm your mother and you will respect me. But I think that when I realized that my way of parenting was more based on what it was that I was taught. I remember bringing home a C and I was grounded for forever. And it took my grandmother to convince my mother to let me off a punishment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when I realized that what I was doing was affecting him in a negative manner, I had to change my way of parenting. And it meant that, not that grades were still not important, but I started to ask the questions as to, did you do your best? And when you come to me and you tell me that you did your best, for me, I can't ask you to do more than your best. If that was your best, then okay, then we're just going to study a little harder and we're just going to try to figure out how to make things better. But
I was going to say, and those are some of the lessons that I tell my friends. A lot of the things I learned growing up are things that I tell my friends when they're in a bad mood. Mm-hmm. You know, we talk about, are you doing your best? When my friends get mad at their grades, like, oh, my GPA wasn't that high, or, oh, I didn't, you know, I can't, this paper is too hard. I'm like, are you doing your best? And they're like, what? I'm like, are you doing your best? Are you doing all you can to get it done? I'm like, yeah, then that's all you can control.
That's it. That's it. And it's really, we make things a lot more complicated because we play in our heads a whole lot more. And
it's all a mental game.
It is a mental game. I want to say, what would you, Nasir, say to someone who's experiencing a dark time right now?
Well, this too shall pass.
It shall.
Very much. I know back when I was in, well, you know, everybody goes through things. And back when I was in the darker point of my life, it was very much, I never believed I would get past it. I thought I would always be there. I definitely had very, I don't want to get too morbid.
Tell your truth.
I had suicidal thoughts. I wouldn't say I tried to commit, but like I self-harmed as well. And I would say it gets easier. And I think I tell people now, I'm kind of in that place where when people are in the same place I was in, I'm like, but you do know, you know, you can get out of this though. There's a way out of this that's not ending your life or self-mutilating and all that. And like, it's really just all mindset. You have to decide one day that you want to be happy and then really just take steps to be happy. Because for me, it was really just a trigger. It's just something clicked and I said, I'm going to go home. I'm going to study, which is interesting. One day I came off the bus from school and college and I said, I'm going to go study and I'm going to be happy. And from there, it was kind of like, that's where the positivity really started for me. But yeah, it's all about the mental. You need to decide that you want to be happy and actually take steps to be happy.
That was a word. I'm hoping that this is blessing your life. And if you have children, I would ask you to play this, share this, play this for your kids, and maybe use this as a learning tool. It was important, not just as mother and son, but in knowing his testimony and knowing his story. It was important for me that he was able to share it, not just to inspire his generation, but to inspire some adults that are going through. And him, it only being 20 years of age, having had experienced so much loss and so much grief. And this is what he's chosen to do. He made the decision to make a change in his life and in his mindset. And no, every day is not perfect, but he made the decision to do something positive. And I want to ask you, because I know you're very passionate about mental health, as we discussed. What are your thoughts on people who feel like depression, cutting, suicidal thoughts, or suicidal talk is just a cry for attention?
I think it's interesting. I mean, I know at one point you told me, and it's something that there's like a couple things that have stuck with me, you know, throughout my life. You know, my dad told me men don't cry. So that always stuck with me. And I remember once you told me Black people don't get depressed. They don't self-harm.
Yeah, I did.
And I think ever since then I was like, you know, it was that I was still young, so I was confused.
And I was confused because again, in parenting the way that I was taught, you know, or what I knew, I was unprepared for that. And then when you tap back into your truth and you're like, no, but we've all dealt with the big D, you know, in some way, shape, or form, as in depression, we call it the big D. What, again, I love about our relationship is we talk about everything. If there's something that is bothering him, if there's something that I've said that has affected him, he will come to me. He may not say anything to me right away. He will walk away and leave me right
sharing
there.
My feelings, but I get that.
But I did not realize, this is before, and this is another reason why I've become such an advocate for taking care of yourself and self-care, is because I really didn't understand that this really was a thing, that, you know, people were cutting, because in my day, if you were cut, nobody knew. I don't remember ever knowing about self-mutilation coming up. But this is a new time, a new day, and us as adults have to really tap into that, and we have to learn more about that so we can be more compassionate. Your children, you need to tap into the pulse of your children to see, you know, on a day-to-day basis. I think one of my previous guest, Renee Williamson, had that discussion about having conversations with your children. It's important to know who they are as individuals, and know, you know, bullying is way different than when it was when I was coming up. You know, now you have social media where it just makes things so much worse, you know. So it's important for us as parents to step up and take the time out to check in with our children. He's 20 years old, and people tell me sometimes, well, he's an adult now. He may be an adult, but the reality is he is still my child.
What can I say? You mentioned the social media and the internet. I don't think it's even about, you can't really limit what they're going to see, because they're going to get older. They're going to see all of these things anyway, and experience all of these things. It's really about, you know, like you said, talking to your children. And I think that goes throughout. You need to start the relationship when they're young and let them know that they can come to you and that they can get through anything.
Yeah.
So it definitely starts from there. And I think, you just have to have these conversations. You have to have these conversations.
I think that was the blessing, is, you know, because I was home with you in the very beginning. So our relationship has always kind of been like this, except for, you know, Nana, who was your favorite. But, you know, we've experienced some times together, and, you know, because we've grown together. But I'm going to ask you this before we close this show out. And no, I didn't tell you that I was going to ask you this, but if you could talk to, at 20 years old, if you could talk to your younger self, what would you say to him?
You don't know, I've had these conversations.
Good.
I've had these thoughts.
Good.
Yes. I think especially the one point that I would is definitely the transition into high school, I think. And I would definitely say everything that you're feeling now and all of that pain that's swelling up, the anger, the sadness, you're going to get past it. Like all of this is, like, not to belittle my younger self, but this is all small compared to the stuff that you're going to face when you get older. And I said, I wish that at my age, at that age, someone would have just given me a hug. Though I'm sure I would have fought it.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through all of this. You know, you will smile. You know, you'll smile the next day. The sun will rise again. All that good stuff.
You know, I think that I've said this before about the importance of a kind word. The importance of, when you see someone, you know, a hug, a handshake, a smile, you look beautiful, you know, or, you know, you don't understand how far that goes for someone, because you have no idea what someone is facing on a day-to-day basis. So on today's show, I'm going to ask you to tap into someone, a stranger. If you are going on about your day today, if you're going out, make it your business to say something positive to someone. Give someone a kind word. Hug someone. Pick up the phone and call someone. Tell them that you love them. Tell them that you care. Because life is short. Tomorrow is not promised. I personally.
What's that? Can I say something?
Yeah, absolutely.
So check on your strong friend. Always. You see those posts about checking on your strong friends? Check on your strong friends. I wish my friends checked on me. They do not.
Yes.
My mother checks on me.
Well, you know, it takes one to know one.
That's my best friend.
That's right. High five. I didn't pay him to say that. But yes, check on your strong friend. Absolutely. Because I think people forget about us far too often. And I think that, as you said before, people don't realize that the phone works both ways, whether it's via text message or picking up the phone to call. Yeah, you know, send a kite, email, something. It is what it is. But I thank you guys for tuning in. I think that we're gonna do a little after show, maybe a quick little after show. If you have any questions, he's like, yeah, I'm done with the show. But I think we're gonna try to tap in at another location. We'll try to tap in. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, you can leave them right here below, and when we go off air, we'll tap in and communicate with you after this. But thank you guys for tuning in. This is the Inspire with Shika My'Chelle Show. I have the amazing Mr. Monday Motivation, Mr. Everything, Mr. Mental Health, NAAS KALEEM. I thank you for joining me. It was not that painful.
Thank you for having me.
And if you do not follow him, you can find him on NAAS KALEEM on Instagram. He is not on Facebook, but you can find him as NAAS KALEEM, double A's, NAAS KALEEM, KALEEM on Instagram, and tap in with him. I thank you guys for watching. I hope that we have left you inspired. I hope that something that was said helped you out in some way. So I thank you guys again for watching. God bless you.